To We Are All Okay Wisdom Wednesday, and yes, it's Wednesday in Australia. Alhamdulillah. Today's topic is especially for step parents, how to earn mega rewards for being a super step parent. And I have been a stepchild, I have been a step parent, and my children have also had a step parent. And I also coach many people who are either step parents or challenged with this topic by their spouse being a step parent to their children. And so I want to highlight some of the do's and don'ts so that you can navigate this role in a way where potentially you can earn mega rewards from Allah and be a super step parent to your stepchildren, as well as have joy in your life, inshallah. So, where to begin? I guess I will start with the fact that I learned a lot from being a stepchild. I learned a lot from what I found wonderful about my step parents and what I found challenging about my step parents. And particularly learned or took those lessons when I became a step parent myself. So I was a step parent before I was even a parent, and that's a very, very challenging role. So I share that that so that any step parent listening knows that I've been in those shoes and do understand. The challenges being that you can't set limits entirely in the same way that you would with your own children. That there is that fine line between wanting to be a parental figure for them, but not crossing that line where you're like being a replacement to their parent, and so therefore, getting that pushback from them. And it comes up over and over again in coaching, and especially with our Muslim sisters that I coach, the challenges that they experience when they've remarried and they have children from a previous marriage, and the dynamic when they then have children in the new marriage, and the difference in how both sets of children are treated. So let me unpack it one point at a time. The first thing I think is important to realize is that to the parent, because it could be a mum or a dad, right, who has children from a previous marriage and a current marriage, those children aren't seen any differently to that parent. To that parent, they're all their children. And it can be perceived that maybe they are favoring the children from a previous marriage over the children from the current marriage. And I want to bring some insight into that to alleviate any thinking around that. Quite often what we find is the reason there may be extra attention needed for those children from the previous marriage is because perhaps their other parent isn't being actively involved in their life. And so the mum or the dad is having to fulfill both roles with those children, whereas the children in the current marriage have both mum and dad actively involved. And it doesn't mean that the parent, who is the parent of all of the children, favors one children over the next. They're just juggling a very difficult situation. As a step parent, another thing to realize is that if you've married into an already existing family where you've got the parent and children already existing as a family, that you're not just marrying a individual, you're marrying that family, because those children come with that parent in one way or another, whatever the arrangement might be in terms of shared care or whatever. And to have an expectation that they can be the same as somebody who comes alone without those children is unrealistic and leads to a lot of tension, a lot of unmet expectations that can then lead to fighting. One of the key things to realize is, even if it is the most amicable of divorces, that person that you've married and their children, because it could be a husband or a wife, right? I want to speak in general, not talk about specifically one gender here, because we have all the different combinations in our ummah. But that person that you married and children have been through something which is considered one of the most stressful things that you can go through. So divorce is considered one of those most stressful life events. And so they come probably with some healing to do. They may come with some troubles that they're still working through. And what they need is a safe environment where they can be okay, and where it can be okay for them not to have to be perfect, to work through these things. And so, yes, that is extra responsibility or extra baggage. You may think of it that way when you marry into that family. But I want to put a different spin onto it. Imagine the reward with Allah for being the one who came along and helped that family, gave them the space, the security, the love, the respect that they need, the care, the kindness that they need to heal. And imagine doing that for the sake of Allah, not for them, not for any dunya reward, but doing it purely for the sake of Allah. How much reward there would be, but also how much potential joy there can be as you become a part of their family. And then when you have children, or you may already have children with your spouse, that it becomes one united family. There's no difference of treatment between kids that have come from a different parent. That those kids look up to you as a role model. That you're not replacing their other parent, but while they're under your roof, you're providing them with being the parent that they're missing in the meantime. Now, I've experienced that. I've had some very good, amazing, wonderful experiences with my step-parents. And while it's not the same as your own parent, you can certainly feel very loved for, cared about, and very much like it's one family. There's no difference. I was a part of a blended family where we were actually all teenagers, and we merged together as two lots of kids together under one roof. And we were one group of kids. There wasn't a difference between whose kids were whose. And that was beautiful. A bit like the Brady Bunch, if anyone's still familiar with the Brady Bunch. They haven't been around for a while. Alhamdulillah. So you have the ability to really make or break the situation in how you show up as a step parent in that environment. Some of the key things that a step parent can do that can really set things off onto the wrong foot or really create issue is coming in too hard, too fast. absolutely, they've, you become part of one household, and of course you have the right to be respected and to have house rules and things that you wish to be followed, and of course you want to be a good influence for the children to practice their deen and all of those wonderful things. But if you come in too hard too fast in that role before establishing the relationship with the kids, you'll end up actually creating a barrier and pushback from them. And then that can create a lot of challenges within your relationship, because mom is now, or dad, sorry, because I was trying not to pick a particular gender, the parent who is the parent of all of the children, your spouse, gets to be the meat in the sandwich between their children and you. And then that can cause grievance in the relationship. The most important thing that you can do, and it's not too late if you haven't done that and it has gone off the rails and now you're, wondering how to recover it, it's not too late, is focus on the relationship. Focus on having a good relationship with those children first. Remember, those children are coming potentially hurt, because even if their parents left on really beautiful terms, they're still hurt because their family is broken. Their family isn't the way they dreamed it to be. And I can say that from having been a child myself, and how despite the fact that my parents were happily remarried, there's always still that kind of thing about your parents being together, or there being some loss that they're not, right? So understanding that behavior is a symptom. If they're acting out, then that means that there's something going on for them. So instead of coming down hard on them, approach them with curiosity on how you can best support them to get back on track. And this can really help build the relationship, build the safety, build the connection, so that when it comes to being a good influence for them on the deen, about house rules and how you want behavior to be in the house, being able to set limits with them, you'll be able to do that because you've established that good relationship. Unfortunately, what I see happens a lot of the time is that there's this expectation that, well, this is my rules, the kids need to conform. There's a breakdown in the relationship between the step parent and the step kids. There becomes a really complex emotional issue for the parent, who is the parent of all of the kids, and a separation between the step kids and the biological kids, and they're becoming tension then amongst the kids, because some are getting attention that others are not getting, and it just seems unfair and unjust. I'm not sure that I've covered this in the way I had intended in my head. I've just sort of shared from the heart what's come to mind. And I would really love anybody who is listening to this, whether it's live or in the recording, to share your questions or your takeaways. We are living in a time right now where stresses are high globally for the Muslim Ummah because of what's happening globally. And so this is having a domino effect and exacerbating situations in families. And so this is one particular type of family situation that the tensions may be exacerbated in. And so I wanted to share my thoughts on it. If you go to the weareallok.com page, you'll see that I have opened up spots for people who are struggling and would like to book in a call with me. That's for those who are not part of my programs and already getting support in other ways. That's for those that are out there that have yet to get supported, right? Please book in and let's unpack what's going on for you as a step parent and how you can move forward to bring peace and harmony and joy into the family and into your step parenting role. Make it an act of worship for the sake of Allah, so that you can have mega rewards from Allah and become a super step parent, inshallah. It really is possible, and it's not too late. Even if things have gone off the rails till now, we can always learn better ways, and we can always do better, and relationships can be mended, and beautiful futures can be had, inshallah. Please share your takeaways and your questions in the comments, and inshallah I will respond back to them when I see them there. And until next week's Wisdom Wednesday, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi